What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we cover updates on the fourth stimulus check updates, as well as what's going on in the world. We actually have major developments today. We have two new stimulus bills that have been introduced, along with another bill on an absolutely crazy, very controversial move by the Democrats. We're going to get into all of it here today, as there's several new things on the docket this morning. So if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on updates on the new upcoming round, the fourth round of stimulus, as well as don't forget to hit the like button for us. It really helps out our channel. Okay, first up, Democrats have offered a brand new bill to expand the Supreme Court. This is also known as a court packing or Supreme Court packing. And generally, I would be against this for the reason why the Democrats are doing this, but I tend to look at things from a realist point of view, not Democrat, not Republican. Look at it from a center point of view and see why one side is doing something and why another side might be as well. So first of all, the reason the Democrats are doing this is because the Republicans control the Supreme Court. And at the lowest barrier, that's why they're doing it. There's several reasons why they're doing this, and one is because of what the Republicans have done to them. Now, for years, as you know, there's been kind of this tit for tat where Republicans and Democrats slam the other side, and they do what's in their best interest and completely just do whatever they can when they have the power. Okay. And you could say the Democrats are doing this now when they have control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency. But you also could say that Mitch McConnell did this when he was in control of the Senate. And there's two different things that the Democrats point to on why they want to expand the Supreme Court to kind of take control of the Supreme Court. The current Supreme Court, there's 9 members. 6 of them are Republican, 3 of them are Democrat. And this is a big deal because a lot of major items or reforms in the United States are decided by the Supreme Court. And a lot of times you'll see them split right down party lines. You'll see 5-4 votes for many, many years in the Supreme Court. Oftentimes it'll be all Democrats voting one way, all Republicans voting another way in the Supreme Court. As sad as that may be, that is what happens in the Supreme Court and also with Congress. If you've been following the show, you know that happens with Congress a lot. Well, Mitch McConnell kind of really dug the knife in on the Democrats twice. And the Democrats actually called him a major hypocrite for what he did. We have to go back to the last year of President Obama's term. Remember, presidents, they keep the term president. So President Obama, President Trump, they carry that term forward. I try to say former President Obama, former President Trump, because I get yelled at every time I say President Trump or President Obama, but they keep the term president for their life. So just keep that in mind. But former President Obama, in his last year of term, a Supreme Court justice passed away. And the Democrats went to put a new Supreme Court justice in there. It's always nominated by the president. So a Democrat president nominates a Democratic Supreme Court justice. And the big thing about this is that Supreme Court justices stay there for life. So they could stay there for 50 years or more. Okay, so at the time, President Obama elected or nominated Merrick Garland as a Supreme Court justice. And Mitch McConnell, who was in charge of the Senate, see, the Senate, it's nominated by the president, but it's the Senate who actually appoints them and puts them in and votes and does the official bidding, okay? Well, the Senate was controlled by Mitch McConnell at the time. And what did Mitch McConnell do? He basically sent it to his graveyard like he's been known to do. If you know Mitch McConnell from this channel, you know he sends anything he doesn't agree with to his graveyard and doesn't care. He's like, long hair, I don't care, right, Mitch McConnell? But yeah, so he sent it to his graveyard. With 11 months left to go in President Obama's term, 11 months, he said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to nominate your Supreme Court justice because you're in the last year of your presidency. And even though there's 11 months to go, we're not going to nominate him. We're going to nominate him when the next president comes in. Well, happens to be the next president ended up being a Republican, former President Donald Trump. So the Democrats were very, very mad about that because basically Mitch McConnell sent that bill to the graveyard and didn't elect a Supreme Court justice for over 11 months. However, Mitch McConnell, and this is where he's accused of being the biggest hypocrite ever in the world, with just a few months left in former President Donald Trump's first term, and we know now his last term, at least for the time being, he's trying to make a comeback for the next election, and we might see a reboot of Biden versus Trump. Okay. But in his last few months of President Trump's presidency, we had another Supreme Court justice pass away, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And what did the Republicans do with just a few months left in the presidency term? They pushed through another Supreme Court justice. Yes. In fact, by the time they got it done, there was about a month before the November elections. And Mitch McConnell did the exact opposite that he said before, because it was in the only 11 months left in the president's term, he couldn't push it through it. But when there was 1 month left in President Trump's term, he pushed through another Republican judge. In fact, President Trump, former President Trump, got to push through 3 different Supreme Court justices, the most in modern day history by any president. Okay. So the Democrats said before Mitch McConnell did this is that, and I don't think you can really blame Trump here because if you listen to Trump, he'll say, well, I was elected for 4 years. I'm going to nominate a justice. Okay. You really kind of got to put the blame, if you blame him, on Mitch McConnell because he really hypocrited what he did. Can you use hypocrite as a verb? Yeah. So he said Obama couldn't do it in his last year, 11 months, but Trump could do it with just 1 month left to go in his term. So that is when the Democrats threatened, if you do this, we're going to do what's called packing the court if we take over. And they did. They won the House, the Senate, and the presidency. And now the Democrats are starting to fulfill their promise to Mitch McConnell. And remember, this is a realist point of view. So this is kind of an overview, not Democratic, not Republican. I'm going to show you what really happened. And you can determine if, because some people will say Mitch McConnell did what he was supposed to do in power. And the Democrats are doing it now in power. When one party has the power, they generally push through anything they can. Okay. It was really just such a big coincidence because Mitch McConnell literally just made a big stink about not pushing it through in the president's last year of his term, just literally a few years before that, and then did the exact opposite underneath President Trump. So it was a very hypocritical move. However, most people would say, or some people would say, I should say, that Democrats or Republicans, they push through whatever they want. Okay. And that's why Democrats are right now trying to get rid of the filibuster, which is the rule where it requires 60 votes in the Senate. I'll have some big juicy news for you on that in the next video. But now the Democrats they have introduced a bill to expand the Supreme Court and add 4 more seats to the Supreme Court, which is just enough for the Democrats to take back control of the Supreme Court. That would give them the 3 Democratic judges that are there now, plus 4 would be 7. And remember, there's 6 Republican judges there on the Supreme Court now. So there's the history of why they're doing this, and you need to know what's going on with our government if you're interested in that, because that is what's going on, and that is why the Democrats are doing it, because of what Mitch McConnell did. But Mitch McConnell would probably say, I just did what I'm supposed to do when I'm in power. The people elected us as the leaders of the Senate. This is what Mitch McConnell would say. The Republicans are in control of the Senate. The people elected us. That's what we're supposed to do. Okay, so yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. But the Democrats have introduced a bill now to expand the Supreme Court or pack the Supreme Court. However, Nancy Pelosi, who's the leader of the House for the Democrats, the Speaker, has something interesting to say.
Support Jerry Nadler's bill to expand the Supreme Court by 4 seats, and would you commit to bringing that bill to the floor?
No. I support the president's commission to study such a proposal, but frankly, I'm not. Right now, we're back. Our members, our committees are working. We're building the putting together the infrastructure bill and the rest. I don't know that that's a good idea or a bad idea. I think it's an idea that should be considered, and I think the president's taken the right approach to have a commission to study such a thing. It's a big step. It's not out of the question. It has been done before in the history of our country a long time ago. And the growth of our country, the size of our country, the growth of our challenges in terms of the economy, et cetera, might necessitate such a thing. But in answer to your question, I have no plans to bring it to the floor. No.
So, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she has no plans to bring this bill to pack the Supreme Court or expand the Supreme Court to the floor at this time. However, she didn't rule it out in the future. Basically, said they're working on the infrastructure package slash stimulus package now, and kind of pointed to President Biden, basically saying that they have a council that is studying what expanding the Supreme Court will do, and that they might do this at a later time. But a later time could be next week. All right, we have two new bills for stimulus items, so let's go through them one at a time. Here is the first one. There is a bipartisan bill from Senators Mitt Romney and Kirsten Sinema teaming up on a proposal to raise minimum wage. And this is significant because this is a standalone bill, and this is a bipartisan bill from Republican Mitt Romney and Democratic Representative Kirsten Sinema from the Senate. As you can see here, Senator Mitt Romney, Republican from Utah, and Kirsten Sinema, Democratic representative from Arizona, are teaming up on a bill to increase the minimum wage. Romney declined to provide details on the proposal, though he suggested that he and Sinema had largely reached an agreement. It's interesting that they're doing this without other Republican or Democratic Senate leadership, aka Mitch McConnell or Chuck Schumer. Quote, we're negotiating a minimum wage proposal which would ultimately take our group of 20 and see how they react to it and then go from there. Romney said, referring to a bipartisan group of 20 centrist-minded senators. Romney also wouldn't disclose the phase-in timeline or what the minimum wage would be. Senator Joe Manchin, a Democratic representative from West Virginia, told the Huffington Post, which first reported on this proposal, that he believed the bipartisan measure would raise the minimum wage to $11 an hour. By the way, raising the minimum wage to $11 an hour would be a 51% increase over the current federal minimum wage of $7.25. As you know, any state can raise the federal minimum wage more if they would. They can raise the state minimum wage, but the federal minimum wage is the absolute minimum. I think about 1/3 or 40% of the country, based on the states, still run at the federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour. Some are a little bit more, some are a lot more, some are as high as $15 an hour, which is what most Democrats want. But they couldn't push the bill through with the reconciliation package, nor did they have enough votes to get the $15 an hour minimum wage. That's why I've been saying all along that I think the $10 to $11 an hour minimum wage mark, which is a 50% increase, 51% for the case of $11 an hour, will be ultimately what they will end up settling on to raise the federal minimum wage, with a phase-in of likely a few years. So it doesn't go from $7.25 to $11 an hour instantly overnight. So a small business owner won't have to pay 50% more instantly overnight. It'll be a phase-in likely of $1 to $2 per year for a couple different year phase-in. But ultimately, in a few years, people making minimum wage will go from $7.25 to $11 an hour, which is a 51% increase. It'll also be interesting to see, because we've seen this in the past proposal from the Democrats, that restaurant servers and tipped wage servers would also go up to the minimum wage. So a restaurant server that makes $2.13 an hour plus tips would eventually go to the minimum wage that they raise it to. So in this case, maybe $11 an hour. But we will have to see if this bill includes tipped workers and restaurant servers included in that bill. Next up, our second bill introduced today would be a Senate bill would expand unemployment benefits and pay $250 a week to gig workers. A new Senate bill introduced yesterday would broadly reform the U.S. unemployment system, seeking to plug gaps in the safety net for jobless Americans in response to the pandemic and put states on a more equal footing. The legislation would raise the amount and the duration of unemployment benefits and expand the pool of workers who qualify for aid. It's sponsored by Senators Ron Wyden, Democrat from Oregon, the chair of the Finance Committee, and Michael Bennett, the Democratic representative from Colorado in the Senate. The bill, the Unemployment Insurance Modernization Act, would also make the self employed, gig workers, new graduates, and others a permanent fixture of the unemployment safety net. Such workers who are typically ineligible for state aid would qualify for a $250 weekly job seeker allowance benefit paid by the federal government for up to 6 months and indexed annually for inflation, which means it would increase over time by 1 to 3% on average. So $250 weekly job seeker allowance benefit paid for by the federal government for up to 6 months. The amount and length may increase during times of high unemployment. Similarly, state benefits would also be more responsive to economic downturns and rising joblessness. It makes other tweaks too. For example, states wouldn't be able to deny jobless aid workers who quit for their job for, quote, compelling reasons. Good luck trying to argue with the state unemployment office for that, because as you know, I get a lot of comments from you guys saying you can't even get in touch with your state unemployment office, let alone argue that you quit for compelling reasons. A lot of you guys say you can't even get somebody on the phone, and they're so far behind and so understaffed that it's just ridiculous. So they could quit for compelling reasons like the loss of childcare or unusual risks to health or safety or irregular work schedules, all of which have come into play during the pandemic. Ron Wyden says, quote, "Our unemployment insurance system is broken, and it's been broken for decades. As we've seen the last year, it's much harder for the unemployment system to work in a crisis when it's been neglected and sabotaged." This legislation would also narrow the differences between states and create a more stable floor for this benefit. Workers' experience has varied greatly between states, which have broad leeway to set their own unemployment rules and standards. Massachusetts, for example, pays $500 a week in benefits to the average worker in February, the most of any state, according to the Labor Department. Louisiana, by contrast, pays $193 per week, the least in the country. Workers in 7 different states also collect aid for less than 6 months, the typical duration, according to the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities. The bill would require states to offer at least 26 weeks of benefits, which is half a year. Benefits would also replace 75% of a worker's average pre layoff wages, up from roughly half right now, up to a state's maximum weekly benefit. So 75% of your your job's wages you would get from unemployment. That is a lot. The federal government would pay another $25 a week per dependent. A state's maximum weekly benefit would also increase to at least 2/3 of its average weekly wage. Now, that's great news for anybody on unemployment. I know what the naysayers are already going to say. They're going to say, well, when people lose their job and they get 75% of their pay, they're not going to be very eager to go back to work because they're going to be receiving almost as much as they received when working, and will likely see mass amounts of people stay on unemployment until the benefits are exhausted and not even look for other jobs. If you couple that with the $300 per week unemployment bonus right now that's going on during the pandemic, a lot of people would actually receive more than 100% of their current wages they made at their job. So they would actually be making more money than they made at their job being unemployed. And there was a lot of criticism from the first unemployment boost, which was $600 per week, plus your state unemployment, which is typically 50% of your income that you made. So 50% from the state plus $600 per week, which is what it used to be. And a lot of people complained that people were making more money on unemployment than they were at their job, and thus people didn't want to go back to work. And I understand that. Why go back to work if the government's paying you almost as much or more than you're making at your job? I mean, let's be real here. The realist point of view is why go back to work if you're making as much or more money staying at home enjoying your life? So again, that's a realist point of view. I totally get it. So that's one of the struggles I see going forward is that if you pay people so much close to what they were making at their job, there's not a rush to go back to or find another job. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. But of course, if you're on unemployment or you would be on unemployment when this bill passes, this would be great news for you because it would mean more money in your pocket. So I will keep you up to date on all of these different provisions and bills that are coming through. Both of these bills would help out millions and millions of Americans. I'll also keep you up to date on any new developments on the fourth stimulus check and the fourth stimulus package. I got a big update for you in the next video, which will be at 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on new episodes. It's completely free to subscribe. After subscribing, click the bell icon to get notification reminders when we go live with new videos. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I've had dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon. Me and my wife sell products on Amazon, and we also teach people how to do that. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.